Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime girl. These knives are extremely rare. These knives are extreme! Some of them are impossible to get, but for most, it's just a matter of knowing how. Today, I'm gonna show you some super cool rare knives. We're gonna talk about what makes them so tough to get, and I'm gonna let you in on a few little secrets on how to get them for yourself. All right, so first off, what could even make a kitchen knife super rare? Well, these guys are all made by hand. They're made by expert blacksmiths, and most of these guys work alone or only with like 1 or 2 apprentices. This means that they can only make so many knives. Now additionally, the most popular blades are generally more labor intensive. Folks like the Moritakas, they forge weld their own steel in-house, and that really takes a lot of time compared to just buying it pre-laminated. Guys like Takeda like to pound their knives super thin. Now all these little details and finishing touches are what make these knives so special, but they also really limit production, so it's also what makes them so tough to get. So what Japanese knives are the most rare? Well, these are some of my favorites. First off, we got Takeda-san. Like I said, this guy is known for making his blades incredibly thin. One day, a chef told him that the best knife is the thinnest knife, and he took that to heart. So he spends time getting that steel as thin as it can possibly go without breaking. Personal favorite of mine is Fujiwara-san. He also laminates his own steel in-house, and he pushes his steel almost to the breaking point, as hard as it can possibly get without being super brittle. His knives also just feel great in the hand. They're a little more on the rustic side, but they're phenomenal to use, and I really love mine. Now, Honora-san is among one of the most popular, talented knife makers out there. He's legendary. He hand forges his own steel in this crazy candy cane twist pattern, and his River Jump series are so made by hand, it's hard to get more made by hand than what he does. All the sharpening and polishing and finishing is done by him in his own little space, and he doesn't release them out to the world until they're just right. The Tinker series from Takayuki Shibata and Takumi Ikeda is wild and wacky in the best ways. They're such cool collector's pieces, but the waiting list is hundreds of people long because they're so awesome, yet they only produce dozens of pieces per year. A few other legendary lines that are easier to get but still tend to sell out super quick include the Moritaka Ishime. This is my first Japanese kitchen knife. These guys are stunning and very popular. Masakages Koishi, perhaps the most badass, iconic Japanese kitchen knife out there. It's even the one that we put on the cover of the Knife Nerd Guide to Japanese Knives. With a super blue carbon steel, stainless clad, really awesome look and feel to them, these knives are crazy popular, and again, they disappear fast. Even the Fujimoto Hammer Tone, a personal favorite of mine, while not hand forged, production is still limited because they are primarily made by hand, and they're a super sexy popular line that just tends to disappear as fast as we can get them. In the past decade, we've seen these guys gain the international recognition that they deserve. The problem is, demand has grown exponentially, but the supply has stayed the exact same. Luckily, these guys are all pretty good dudes, so they don't jack their prices like big corporations, but it just means they're tough to get. When I started at Knifewear back in 2013, we had these knives all the time, like Takeda-san, Hinora, Takamura Uchigumo. I got to look at those blades every single day. They were in the case pretty much all the time, or almost always. Nowadays, we can't get them at all. We haven't seen Takamura Uchigumo knives for years. We love that these guys have gotten so popular, but it just means we've got to be realistic about our expectations as to how often we're going to get them. These days, some knives are just straight up impossible to get. Like I said, Takamura-san comes to mind. His Akagohan series and Kuro Gohan series are so popular that he's just focused on making them because it's what the people want. The Uchigumo and Hana series are gorgeous and people love them, but they're just so much more work to make that he just doesn't really make them much anymore. Some blacksmiths like Anru-san have retired now, and while they've always made great knives, they've passed their businesses on to their apprentices who are now making just as good of knives, if not even better, as they continue to grow their skills and move on into the future. And some, like Takeda-san, are getting pretty close to retiring. We've seen at least one blacksmith retire in our time, Kagura-san. Takeda-san's getting up there in age as well, and maybe he doesn't want to make knives for the rest of his life. Some of these guys just want to go hang out and fish and drink sake by the river. And so if there's a knife from an older blacksmith that you're really in love with, I suggest getting it sooner rather than later. Okay, so how do you actually get any of these knives? It's easy. Head to knifewear.com, find the knife you're really looking for, and hit notify me when available. You can pop your email in there and we'll shoot you an email as soon as some get in stock. Now there is a priority, right? It's a waiting list, so the people that put their email in first are gonna get the email first. But as we get through that list, we'll get to you and you'll get your knife. You can also keep an eye on the website because when new knives drop, everybody gets a crack at them. You just have to know that they're back in stock. And we sometimes announce it on our Instagram as well. So follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our mailing list because we'll often send out announcements there when restocks come in. Now, when you do get the email that a knife is back in stock that you were after, I suggest jumping on it right away. If you wait too long, more people will get the email because it hasn't sold out, and you might lose your opportunity. So if you can, just hop online, snag that knife you're always after. Now, if a knife is on our website, chances are it will come back in stock. If we're not getting it again, we tend to take it off the site. We're almost always sold out of certain knives, but we have standing orders for them. Folks like Takeda and Moritaka that sell out quick, we get orders several times a year, and so if you can't find the knife now, chances are it'll be in a few months. If it's an awesome knife, we want it too. Another great time to find some rare and unusual stuff is around the Knifewear garage sale. These happen in May and November, and they follow our trips to Japan where we've spent a bunch of time meeting with these guys, shopping, collecting cool stuff. We bring it back for one big bonanza, all kinds of new stock, rare knives. So when we do get a knife from Honora-san or maybe like Takeda-san's hunting knives, for example, those knives tend to show up at that time. Now, if you're not an uber knife nerd, but you still made it this far into the video, maybe you're just looking for a rad knife and you're not super stuck on one particular maker. Let's look at some of my favorite alternatives for some of the most popular lines out there. First up, Masakages Koishi. Like I said, these guys are super popular. The Haryuki Shiso is a great alternative. Now, the blade is forged by machine, but the rest of the work is done by hand, and they are a super sexy knife, just like the Koishi. Personally, I prefer the handle on this guy. It's a little darker. I think it's gonna wear nicer and show less, dirt and stuff. The core is still super blue carbon steel, which has incredible edge retention with that stainless steel protective coat on the outside. So it's gonna look and act a lot like the Koishi. Honora River Jump. I don't even have one to show you because they're that rare. If you're just looking for a knife that is incredibly well made, great attention to detail, but most importantly, hand-folded Damascus steel, get yourself a Nigara Troll Killer. Go Yoshizawa-san, he stays up at night thinking about different ways to fold steel just to make it more beautiful. He is a true Damascus artist and his knives are incredible to use. So whether you just want a collector's piece to look at or you want something functional, this guy is going to be a great substitute. Okay, the Tinker Tank. It's not just my big hands, this guy is a smaller version, but they come in a bigger size. It's kind of similar to like a Chukabocho or a Tall Nakiri. Really great, cool knife. But if you're going for more just the style and shape of the knife as opposed to the prestige of the maker, get yourself this guy. This is the Sakai Takayuki Tall Bunka. We like to call it the Chuka Bunka because it kind of resembles a Chukabocho, but it's got a bunka shape made with Japanese steel. This guy kicks ass. Okay, back to Takamura-san. You'll notice this is not his Damascus line because like I said, you just can't get him. If you are just into his super light, thin knives with a Western handle, his Akagohan series is rad. It's made with the exact same steel as the Hana, but it's, just not Damascus, but it still performs like crazy and it's a beautiful knife. Another good option, if you are looking for something a bit more on the pretty side, would be the Kurosaki Senko. Super thin, super light. I really like that this guy has an established primary bevel there, which means down the road when you have to thin your knife out, you're not going to have kind of some slightly ugly grinding lines along the edge. And I think long term, this guy's going to look really excellent. So I hope that helps you sleep at night, knowing that one day you will get your dream knife. So which one are you after? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to join that mailing list. Follow us on Instagram so you catch the restocks when they come in. We'll see you next time.